Hello there. Welcome back to Ask Amy, Halloween edition. I'm here with a really weird foot. Okay, so happy Halloween, everyone. So I have a question today from Melanie. Melanie says, since I learned about your work, I think I might be getting it. On the one hand, it's very peaceful and calm and simple for me. I feel it inside. On the other hand, I feel emptiness, like a hole. I used to search for something for almost 30 years, some kind of meaning of all of this, some way to manipulate life from meditation, energetic medicine, quantum physics, science of beliefs, hypnosis, etc. And now I realize deep inside that it's useless because there is no need. And I feel a little bit of a sadness to feel that there is just this, nothing to search for, like an addict who goes cold turkey. I don't know if you understand and if you once felt like this. So, yes, 100%, Melanie, 100%. And I think this is super, super common. It really is. And you say it perfectly. So I know that you have a sense of what's going on. For 30 years and everyone, I mean, for all of us until we were today years old, pretty much, our mind has just been looking and searching and what's next and what can I find and what's going to do it and what's the next thing and constant and all the things you mentioned. I mean, it just, you can really feel that nonstop search for something. And this is what a mind does. So now yours has fallen a little quiet, which I'll get to in a second, and that's amazing. But I just want everyone to see, like, a mind doing that, it isn't a problem. It isn't a bad thing. It's definitely not about you. It's not just you. It's not personal. This is what a mind is. I mean, a mind isn't a thing. Mind is just a word we use. It's formless. And I think of it as like this activity. It's activity. It's a verb. Mind is a verb. And it's that motion of kind of looking out and seeking and wanting to bring back in. And everything I just said is metaphorical as well, because there is no out, there is no in. Even that there is an out there and an in here is a product of a mind. That's how a mind talks. A mind says, you're a you, they're a them, you're a you separate from the rest of life. We need to find. And when we find the right thing, then you'll be okay. And it's this constant, I just picture like the tide going out and coming in, going out and coming in. And that is kind of what mind is, what a mind is. It's that activity. So that happened for 30 years and that it might still happen, totally, absolutely, 100% normal. That's just how it goes. That's what minds do. And what you're experiencing of kind of having this insight of like, wait a minute, there's no point to this. That is huge, Melanie. So huge. And you're right, there is no point. Now, a mind might keep doing it, and that's okay too, but for us to just be on to the fact that this is getting us nowhere is so gigantic. All of that searching is getting us nowhere, and I don't say that in a negative way. It just isn't. It's just a mind doing what it does. It's just like the tide coming in and coming out is not getting us anywhere. That's not even part of the equation. It's not trying to get somewhere else. It's just what tides do. It's just what oceans do. It's just how it works on Earth, and this is the same. So it isn't a bad thing. It's just that it was never going to get you anywhere. It was never going to fulfill those promises. And it's beautiful to start to see that. That is like a huge, huge, huge first step for many people to start to see that. Because as we start to see it, it's not like it suddenly drops away. Sometimes it might, but it doesn't have to. But we're on to it. Like we just kind of know, oh yeah, this is not productive as much as it promises, because it will promise everything. All of its promises are just part of its activity, just what it does. So how it often goes for people is kind of like that. It's like we're caught up in this. We're looking for the right thing, the next thing that has all these promises attached. And then we kind of see, wait a minute, this is just a monotonous activity. There's nothing at the end of the road here. There's no pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. This is just what's going on. And just like you say, Melanie, sometimes it's like, okay, well then I'm not going to look there anymore. And it's not even like it feels like that in our head, but it just doesn't make sense anymore. It just does not make sense anymore. And so sometimes usually a mind will still do that, but we just see it differently and we can't get all worked up about it. We can't get excited about it. We don't, the suggestion to chase and seek will come up, but it's just like, yeah, there's my mind again. And I know that's going to get me nowhere. So that's often how it goes. Sometimes, and after a little bit, I think that activity slows down, maybe even feels like it stops a little bit. And just like you say, she says, I feel a little bit of sadness. To feel like there is just this, nothing to search for. It's like an addict who goes cold turkey. I mean, it's such a perfect way of describing it. That is kind of what it feels like. But here's the thing. Now, our mind is always trying to make sense of how we feel. So it will gladly jump in and help you interpret this feeling. And you're onto that because you've seen it for what it is, right? You've seen that it goes out and seeks and makes stories up. So of course it will come in and say all kinds of things that I've felt myself and that I've heard over the years. This is boring. What's the point? I mean, sometimes people really do go through kind of an existential crisis of like, what's the point of all of this? It's common. It happens. It's okay. We move through it. We see a lot along the way. Sometimes it isn't like that, but it's just kind of sad, kind of lonely. We just kind of don't know what to do with ourselves. But it's so incredibly common and so incredibly temporary. The only thing that's happening there's a space opened up, and then there's a mind coming in with its interpretation. And its interpretation is that this is boring, what's the point, where's the excitement in life, all that stuff. But if you know that, if you're onto that, even just a little bit, then it's like, okay, I can hear my mind now talk about boredom and sadness and emptiness and this and that, but I'm just going to notice that arise, that's just there. And don't take your mind's word for it. Explore it yourself. So you see for yourself if this is really sad or if that's just how your mind's portraying it in a moment. Or if it is really lonely or boring, or maybe if that's just how your mind's portraying it in a moment. So in other words, in the quiet and the slowing down and the peace that's sort of there, however you would describe that, feel it out, check it out, go into it a little bit. Like, is this really horrible and boring and dull? Or is it not? Be really open to anything. Is it really rich and exciting? Because that is how a lot of people come to see it when they aren't caught up in their mind telling them this is boring. So your mind wants you to find it boring and to say, what's the point? So that you kind of go back to listening to it all the time. So just step into this as dumb as you can be. Like, I don't know anything. I'm just exploring this. It could be super boring and life could feel pointless. Or this could be the bliss that I've wanted. This could be an amazing peace and silence. And just be willing to discover along the way and not know and lean into it and explore a little bit and see what you see. But for sure, Melanie, like what you're going through, what you're experiencing, incredibly common. And I mean, really, we don't stay stuck anywhere. Life is fluid. We are fluid. Everything's always moving and changing. So there is no risk of like, oh, this is your new normal. I know it's not. And I know when you're in it, sometimes that can be the fear. That's what our mind would tell us, right? Like our mind is always looking for what's the new normal and where do I stand and how are things now? Because it just wants those stakes in the ground all the time. There is no new normal. It certainly isn't this. It isn't anything because everything's always changing. So see if you can just be in that flow of things and see what you discover. And really, again, it's usually really beautiful. It's a really, really nice thing when we get on to the mind seeking and things start to quiet down, even if it's a little bumpy initially. So thank you so much, Melanie, for sending the question. I hope that people who are going through this hear this because I know it can feel very unsettling, but it's so incredibly common. I should mention tomorrow I am doing a free webinar. I'll put the link here somewhere in the comments. And it is for people who might want to become a change coach. So if you have any interest in really immersing in this understanding that I share here, and with the goal of kind of sharing it anywhere, not necessarily as a career coach or as a professional coach, but in the work you're already doing with your friends and family, anywhere at all. Check that out, and it might be a great training for you. So have a great day. Happy Halloween. I'll see you guys next week.